On the Shift with CJ podcast, we're all about empowering human lives, and that's why I wanted to feature something what is right in front of me, the primer cube. Tell me, what is the primer cube?
Now, what this device does, it charges the mitochondria. So it enhances the self-healing capacity of the human cell or human body. So it's pushing out all the toxins from your body and allow you to become more healthier.
So it gives your mitochondria a boost, gives more oxygen, more nutrients, and causes less impact.
There are stories that you can share with you that one of the guys in Slovakia, he was slightly run over by a truck and then went to the doctors. Of course, it's broken and it didn't require surgery. It was a fracture, and started using the cube because the guys gave him the cube straight away. 10 days later, went back to the doctor, and the doctor couldn't find the actual fracture line at all.
No way. Wow. They are involved in every aspect of our health. So if you want to improve your health in any aspect, fix your mitochondria. Levante, welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
Very good. Thank you, CJ. Very happy to be here. How about yourself?
I'm great. Thank you. You know, we've had conversations for the last 3.5 months or 4 months, I think.
At least.
We met through a common friend, and you introduced me to these array of biohacking technologies, and I've been researching about them. I've been reading about them. I found it fascinating, and that's why I have you here on the show. So thank you for joining us. And the technology, for everyone who's seeing us on video or listening to the podcast, is right in front of me. This looks like a box, but I know it's a cube. So please tell us, what is this primer cube?
So the primer cube is not a box, as you said. It's a cube based on as an interpretation of the Rubik's Cube, which was invented by a Hungarian inventor back in the 1960s, I think, something like that, quite a long time ago. And the designer of the cube that ended up selling to the production level is from Hungary as well. So he wanted to create something that is interpreting the Rubik's Cube very nicely, so connecting the two dots together. However, what it does, it's linked back to a gentleman called David Lapointe. David Lapointe is an American scientist. He, back in 15, 20 years ago, he had a sort of a vision. If you've seen Back to the Future, the movie, you may remember Dr. Emmett Brown fell in the toilet, hit his head in the sink, in the toilet seat, and had a vision. And that's when he's seen the flux capacitor that is allowing time travel in the movie, of course. Now, in reality, a lot of scientists are having these kind of scenarios that, for example, David Lapointe is very religious. So he believed that sort of God gave him this knowledge to create something that is very useful for humanity. So the primer cube itself is, as a design itself, is a half globe inside of this cube with 40 different magnets designed in a particular way. Now, imagine there's a lot of magnets in something. It means that they want to push each other away or connect to each other and so forth. So it's specifically designed to make sure that doesn't interfere with each other. So what it does, it creates, when you start spinning this half globe, it starts spinning with certain RPMs or revolution per minute, and it creates a magnetic array. So it's pushing energy out when it's in front of you towards you, basically.
Right now I'm getting some energy.
Right now you're getting, yes. So the ideal meaning the most energy you can get from this cube is 3,350 RPM. Now you think of it, that is a drilling machine RPM. Like it will be very loud, right? Now there's a design in this cube that allows it to remain very silent. You can't hear it, right? It just sits there and does its job.
Yeah.
So that's the design of the cube itself. But what it really does is really more amazing. So our bodies are built of various different cells, and each cell has got a mitochondria, which is the battery of the cell. Now, what this device does, it charges the mitochondria. So it enhances the self-healing capacity of the human cell or human body. And in the meantime, it wants to create symmetry in the body. So it's pushing out all the toxins or the toxics from your body and allow you to become more healthier.
Interesting. Now, when I look at it, yeah, of course, it looks like a cube. It's got some sacred geometry sign right in the front, which I think is the front end through
correct,
which the magnetic array starts. A few questions for you. When you talk about magnets and this magnetic array, we know from, a lot of ancient science and modern science that there is a biofield, a magnetic field around our body. Mostly, a lot of people are sensitive to it. Some people are electro hypersensitive. So, is this influencing one of those magnetic fields, or is it affecting the energy body, which a lot of cultures also believe? Because you mentioned the mitochondria, which is in the physical body. So
Correct.
my question is only directing these waves into the physical form or the energetic form as well?
It's physical form more than
Okay.
anything.
So basically there's, right now we cannot hear it, and there's these RPMs going around. I think right now it's on 1000
Yeah,
RPM,
RPM, yeah.
which is how fast it is spinning
Correct,
and
yeah.
throwing out this magnetic wave at me.
Yeah,
Is this safe?
yes.
Okay. When this magnetic waves come on me, how do my cells respond? You talk about the mitochondria, but how does the mitochondria know how to respond to this? Or is it just affecting the mitochondria? Is it affecting everything?
So, okay, a couple of steps back, if I may. So, first of all, as you mentioned, it's 1000 RPM now. Now, it creates about a 1 meter diameter magnetic array. So, it's got a focal point at about 20-25 centimeter.
Okay.
So, kind of, this sort of
Yeah.
distance. If you, for example, and we had so many of the examples and stories, if you have an injury, let's say recent injury, twisted elbow or anything like that, if you put the cube in front of it in a 3350, which is the sort of ideally calculated RPM for healing, you put it in front of so you put it, let's say, this distance from the elbow, and it's going to recharge the mitochondria in the cell, and it's going to get the cell to heal much faster themselves. So imagine this: when you have an injury, what do you do first? First thing is you don't move, right? Because it hurts.
Yeah.
So when you don't move, what happens to your body? You get less and less energy going into those various different parts, i.e. blood, i.e. Oxygen, all of these things, right? So when you're supposed to rest, you're trying to rest, of course, but then you're gonna heal slow.
Yeah.
So our bodies are fantastically designed, of course, as we know it, and they're self-healing itself, but kind of slowish. So with this device, we can speed up that process, for example.
So it gives your mitochondria a boost, gives more oxygen, more nutrients,
Yeah.
and causes less impact. Because now this resonates with me completely. I recently got injured. I tore a ligament. The doctor tells me I need surgery. He's like, don't move, keep still. But of course, it's my life. I don't want to keep it that way.
Of course.
Every time I move or walk, it hurts. So that means I'm creating some kind of an impact. You're saying that the smarter way to do things would be to keep this cube next to my knee, which is injured. And then the cube by itself, because of its magnetic array, will
Energy.
instruct the cells to act in a certain way to heal faster.
Let me tell you a couple of stories. So we had an event on a palm quite a few months ago, and we just introduced the cube. So people have a look at it, come
Try it out.
try it out. Basically, there's a lady there who had a day before that event. She had an accident. She fell off a horse and twisted her knee a little bit. So she was limping. It wasn't a huge injury. So it's not like requires surgery or whatever, but still unpleasant. And she came for this event, just one of these meditation event and so on. And then gave her a cube. Listen, put it next to your knee. Let me set it up for you. Run it. And literally 45 minutes later, she walked away without any significant pain and walked straight. So when you have an injury and you apply the cube fairly quickly, you can get much better results and much faster results. Broken bones. There are stories that you can share with you that one of the guys in Slovakia, he was slightly run over, not on his foot only, run over by a truck. And then went to the doctors. Of course, it's broken, and it didn't require surgery, but it was fractured. And started using the cube because we knew the guys, gave him the cube straight away. 10 days later, went back to the doctor, and the doctor couldn't find the actual fracture line at all.
No way. Wow.
So these are wow factors, and you said it in the beginning that people are more adaptive to this, so they're more absorbing these things, so they're more open to this, number one. So the psychology behind it as well. It's not placebo, don't get me wrong, but you have to, your own body has to also accept the energy that this provides, right? Let me tell you another one, which is a lot more significant and severe story. One of my friends, she had breast cancer, unfortunately, a couple of years ago. And I gave her a cube 6 months ago. She's been using it ever since. Super, super happy with it. Pushed out all the water retention from her body and so on. She went through this very serious 8-hour surgery to extract fat cells from different parts of her body to be able to reconstruct the breast because there were some issues with the fat cells there, unfortunately. And then after the surgery, she sends me a picture of her leg, which was fully bruised, like so completely crazy bruised, stitches and so on. And about a week later, after using the cube, she went back to the hospital. The stitches were pushed out by her own body because the actual cuts were healed
Wow.
already. The doctor couldn't believe it because they were supposed to be taken out at least 2 weeks plus from the point that they were put in. And the leg was barely bruised, almost nothing left. We can show the pictures later on the podcast.
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
Actually, in fact, you showed me this picture before, and we'll put this for everyone who's watching this on YouTube. And for people who are listening, you can go to YouTube and see all the pictures. Now, it's interesting because mitochondria, like you mentioned, they're the battery of our cells. And according to me, they are involved in every aspect of our health. So if you want to improve your health in any aspect, fix your mitochondria. They're the ones that are taking all of the nutrients in. They're the ones that are recycling the energy. They're the ones who's doing the detox. So mitochondria is like the star of the show. Now, I want to get into more specifics because you mentioned about injury and healing. What if someone is not injured? A lot of people these days are having sleep issues. Okay. We did some research and we know that 80% of the world, at least in developed nations, metropolitan cities, are not sleeping well. This could be because of stress, overthinking, Wi-Fi signals, a complete mixture of the soup. How does the primary cure help?
So the Permacrip has got different RPM settings in it, and we can showcase it later on to the viewers. As you said, the 3,000 and 350 is ideal for healing. Now, lower RPM between 1,000 and 1,500 RPM are fantastic for sleeping. So you put the device next to your bed, literally, just on the nightstand. We have settings that you can predefine in the device, like a timer. So let's say you go to bed at 10 p.m. and then this kicks off at, let's say, midnight or 1 a.m. At 1,000 RPM until, let's say, 5 a.m., for example, depending on the person. You feel like you had that one of those deep sleeps that you have in the couch on a Sunday afternoon when you knocked out and you wake up and you have no idea where you were, but you feel really refreshed. And that's what it does. We have a bunch of customers that only bought the cube just for sleeping.
Amazing.
And I can show you text messages and responses like, this is fantastic. I really want to use it for sleeping. And you know what? It does it for me and I'm happy with it. It's fantastic.
What do you think is happening while it's spinning at this? Is this kind of like a magnetic stimulation associated with relaxing the blood vessels? Is it, keeping people in a more parasympathetic nervous system?
So it's pushing out toxins from your body, right? Because what the device does, and we can showcase some videos while we're talking here as well, creating symmetry in the body. Not only with cells, but we can showcase it with little metallic balls.
Okay.
You keep throwing metallic balls on top of the device, and it puts them always in symmetry. 1, 2, 3, triangle, and so on, square. So what it does, while you're doing that symmetrical charge, it's pushing out anything that's asymmetrical. And toxins are always asymmetrical. They're never symmetrical. They just want to move, but they want to go in wherever they can, right? So when it pushes all these things out, you have less and less toxins in your body, and you see better, you feel better as well.
Okay, great. And good, you have a lot of like stories around it as well. So it seems like it's working. And I like what you're talking about shape, because often one of the most underestimated things in biology is shape and sound. Shape and sounds have a huge impact on our lives. That's why, biogeometry and sacred geometry, these concepts are now picking up so much of attention, because let's say we're in this room, we can literally bring a lifeless statue in this room, but if it's geometrically aligned properly, it will have a direct impact on our mood. It'll have a direct impact on how our cells respond. We can play some light sounds which we won't even be able to hear, but because those sounds are shaped in a certain way, certain waveform, our bodies will react to it.
Yes.
And these are the invisible that no one talks about. So I'm happy to see that this device has taken that into consideration. And yeah, that's interesting. So, in biohacking, all the things that we've spoken about, like toxins and sleep, what we are trying to do, essentially, if you're not injured, we're trying to reverse aging. Okay, this is one of the biggest things that all biohackers are looking for. Longevity is a buzzword. All these David Sinclair, Brian Johnson was recently here.
Yeah, I saw that.
What does Can this be used as an anti-aging tool?
Yes.
Okay.
Short answer, yes.
Okay.
Longer answer is the following. Since David Lapointe had the device for almost 15, 20 years, he's using it himself every day. The way I describe it, so he has it next to his bed, sleeping next to it, any injuries, any problems, using it and so on. So there's something called telomere in our bodies, which is next to the end of the DNA. It's like a long little
Caps.
stick,
Yeah.
basically. And the shorter it is, the less we have in life left. You can do the full research. It's a story on its own, basically. But at the end of the day, the shorter it gets, that's it, the less we have. Now, this device, David has been using, as I said, 15, 20 years now. He's 60, 65, something like that, almost 70 years old now, I think. Living in Canada now, up in Whistler, and skiing every day to start with.
Wow.
Well, whenever there's snow, of course. But then there's a telomere test. You can do a telomere test.
Yeah.
It's not super accurate. It's plus 15, 20 years, minus 20 years, whatever. But the test resulted him 18 years of age. So even if the worst case, I'm making it plus 20 years, he's still less than 40, right?
Yeah.
As his physical age. So what it also gives you, it makes you feel good. So when you use the device, you feel energized. You feel like, because all the toxins are going out from the body as well, you feel energized. You feel that you can do more. So with the device, we have a couple of customers who only, let's call it, use it for exercising. So when they go for a run, for example, you're losing that battery, like using that.
Are they carrying it and running, or
No. But no, what I mean is that was a good one. You can. It's another level. It's level
you
two.
can keep it in
level
your
two.
backpack
Yeah, it's
and
level
have a
two.
weighted
Yes,
run.
it's level 2. But no, but let's say you go for a 10K run and then
Yeah.
you come back and you feel obviously less energized, then you can use the device to fill you up with energy. So this is also the reason why we could recommend this for anyone who's in depression. Because, and it comes back to the chakras that I'm pretty sure you know way more than
Yeah.
I know about. But if you grab the device and put it around your belly area and you keep it there, it literally fills you up with energy and makes you feel better.
It's so chakras, just to add to it, in ancient text language, Sanskrit, it means a wheel. Okay. It's so fascinating that this is also designed to move in a wheel format, which is spinning. And maybe that's the reason why, when you're keeping it close to you,
Could
it's
be.
activating the innate wheel response, which is directing some sort of an energy. So what is already flowing, maybe slow in some people, is just spinning more faster. And once you affect
Possible.
with biology, this is my hypothesis, if it's working that way. And once you create an energy field around one chakra or one body, it automatically directs its energy towards the other. So you can direct it in one place and then have a systems biology approach, which is you affect one system and then it kind of spirals the way up. Super interesting. Now, when people are going for, do you use it before a run or after a run? Because you can do it before a run to get more energy, right?
Same thing.
How long, for example, let's say I'm going for a run, I want to get myself energized. How long do I sit in front of it? Because the thing is, it has no wires, so I can literally be using my laptop and prepare for some work.
You could. That's what I usually do, actually. So when, let's say, you're working on your laptop, you put it, let's say, 45-degree angle facing towards you. Put it on whatever RPM you feel like you want to have more or less energy coming out of it. Of course, there's a cable, so it's a battery-run device, but with the USB-C, very easily you can recharge it. It runs for about 5-6 hours on its own. Let's say for the night, you plug it in to make sure it doesn't run out of battery. On its own. But what I would like to also highlight here is people respond to this differently. So people who have a lot of toxins in their bodies, they might become very dizzy. Guess what? Why? Because it's working. So we had a customer who was a little bit, let's call it a bit larger, and she was like, "Oh, this is not good because it makes me dizzy and I'm gonna vomit and all that." That's exactly why, because you have a lot of toxins in your body, just pushing it all out. Now, when you release all these toxins, you become more energized, you become more fit, you can do more, and you can recover faster as well from all the different activities that you're doing. Now, pushing out toxins, what women love the most, their faces, right?
Yeah.
I have literally every single woman using this device said that it cleaned up their faces.
When they have directed the device towards their face or anywhere in the body, is just the
Anywhere in the
overall
body
toxin
because
effect.
it pushes out a toxin. So just sleeping next to the device, it's cleansing you. I can give you 5 different examples straight away without
Interesting.
hesitation. And I love it because women come to me like, "This is amazing. Look at my skin. This is
Yeah.
amazing." And that's just, okay, great, fantastic. I love it. It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's interesting with the toxin piece because we at my resident company we do a lot of infrared saunas, and once someone steps out of an infrared sauna after a few days, they start saying in the first few days they're feeling great, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm not feeling that good. I'm getting a headache." And then normally what we advise to them is that your body and your cells are releasing a lot of these toxins, and if you don't catch them in the right point, they might recirculate back in your
Correct.
system.
Yeah.
So there comes this whole concept of binders like activated charcoal, cholera, spirulina, all these things. And once they bind the toxins and they secrete it out of their body, they feel amazing. Again, same effects like you're talking about. Skin's glowing. Some people even like start seeing a little bit of hair follicles come in. So people challenges with hair loss that gets fixed, sleep gets increased, body pain goes low. And what we think is happening is because the toxins are stored in the fat cells, every time the fat cells are releasing toxins, the toxins basically interact with the mitochondria as well. So the more toxins that are in the body, the mitochondria cannot do their job well. So I think that again goes to the point that as toxins are leaving, the mitochondria have more energy and space to do what
Work.
they're doing,
Yeah,
creating that
exactly.
battery effect.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm not an expert in the light space. What I understand from laser and so forth is it opens up the veins and the various arteries in the body. So what it allows blood flow. So I think that you would, based on my discussions with other people as well, they work very nicely together because first you can enable the injured cell, which has got nitrogen attached to it, to remove that nitrogen by using oxygen flow. Again, what I said earlier, when you're not moving, oxygen doesn't flow.
Yeah.
So when you can open up these veins to allow the oxygen to flow, then the oxygen goes there, takes off that nitrogen molecule. Of course, people start feeling better because the process starts. Now with this one, we can speed it up. So they work really well together.
Do you have any? So we're talking about removing toxins. What about, you mentioned people that are overweight? Do they? Can this be a lazy person's fix to exercise?
I would not say that though. I say toxins and fat are, I'm not an expert, but a
Yeah.
little bit different in a sense. There are different solutions for that particularly. But at the end of the day, this could be a direction, put it this way. So I would say if someone wants to feel more energized to be able to start moving their body, use the Premier Cube so they can actually lose weight and they can get back to themselves.
You know, I get asked this question a lot. CJ, what is the best diet? And most of the times my response is that the best diet for anyone is 1 extra hour of sleep per night. Because every magic that happens in our body, from growth hormone to anabolism to building muscles to losing weight, it all happens while you're sleeping. And most of us are not sleeping correctly. We
That's
don't
true.
have the quality of sleep. So if we can impact sleep in some way with the primer cube or with a supplement or with blue light blocking glasses or infrared sauna or whatever, if you can add 1 hour to sleep to your life, it's going to change everything. You're going to be more resilient. You're going to be, anti-aging, all the stuff that biohackers need. You mentioned blood flow. And the first thing that came to my mind while you were saying this is we know that a lot of light-based devices use this thing called nitric oxide, which opens up the veins. Like you said, it's a vasodilatory compound. So oxygen can go in, nutrients can go in, other factors can go in. You know, what is that one condition where the blood flow doesn't go too much? Is it impacts people's sexual functions. And I'm curious to know people don't talk about it, but men and women both are having issues with not just with fertility, but like just sexual function, libido, all of that stuff. Have you guys experimented or
Yeah.
okay, tell us. Okay, this
No,
is a spicy story. Tell me
no, no,
about
no, I love
this.
that. I love that because someone asked me once, like, okay, if I buy this cube, we put it between us, is it gonna be better? I'm like, hang on a second. So that's not how it works. If you look at relationships, right, you don't want to um, become better because you get into a relationship. You want to be happy on your own, other person to be happy on their own, and then do something that makes both of you happy, right?
Yeah.
The same thing works here. So you cannot just give a Premier Cube to a couple and hey, that's gonna
Yeah.
be fun. No, they have to use it individually, but it does have a good effect on libido. Apparently, one of the guys called up the owner, Irvin, and he said, Irvin, this is good, but you know what? It's becoming a problem. it's, a, it's becoming a problem. So please,
Oh
you
my
know what? I
God.
had to stop doing this, but
Yeah.
it's too much fun. So yeah, it does work really well with the libido as well.
Amazing. So, you know what? One of the things, especially I can say for men, is that on an average, our testosterone levels have been dropping, is dropped more than 60% in the last 30 years. And with that, what happens is our sexual drive decreases, our libido decreases, but our desire to create things in the world, our desire to do things in the world, dopamine areas of the brain, all of them decrease. And that's why we're seeing now more and more people who are not motivated by anything. It's very difficult to get
Yeah.
them motivated. It's very difficult to get them hooked onto something because the attention span is losing. I wonder if by fixing all of that, because you also mentioned about depression, this could have an impact on that.
I truly believe yes.
Okay.
I'm sure all of us go through in life when it's up and down, up and down. It's never a straight line. It's never always up, right? And I personally experienced it as well. I went through many, many things in my life years and years ago or recently and so on. Excuse me. And I'm pretty sure that by using this device would help. Of course, I cannot, and I don't want to share just my experience because it wouldn't be as genuine. I'd rather share everyone else's or people's
Can you
stories
think
and
about
so on.
anyone's story that had a better approach towards life or had a positive outlook towards their mental health after
I
this?
got a customer who is who had a lot of gut issues. Um, that impacted her feed, like food and sort of intakes and so on. So there's a lot of issues. We hopefully can talk about that other part of the magic that I'm also representing here, the frequency healing. So with that part, I managed to heal her with different pathogens. We'll talk about it later. But she's got a cube, and since she's got a cube, she loves it. She became back to more energetic, more normal, more outgoing, more everyday life. She's not the young one. She's sort of, I mean, everyone's young, of course, but she's 55 plus, and then she feels like, okay, I'm back to my normal life.
Interesting. So now, let's say we have a family of 3 to 4 people. Does everyone need their own cube, or can we have one cube? And can we biohack this in a different way where, we keep one cube and then the magnetic field goes into different
And
directions?
it spins around, right?
Yeah.
Well, look, reality check is that it creates a 1 meter diameter environment. So, how many people can squeeze into that 1 meter diameter? That's one question. Ideally, and it's not the sales pitch here, ideally one per person. Why? Because you want to put it next to your bed. You want to be able to sleep next to it. So, because it doesn't go across, even if you have a queen size bed, it doesn't go across to the other person who's sleeping next to you. So we have two with my wife, one each side of the bed, and then we're just using it that way, basically. And of course, if there's injuries or whatever which happens all the time, of course, with people, especially me, because I'm doing a lot of fun stuff.
Scuba diving.
So diving, for example, but other triathlons and so on. So there's always some sort of injuries coming up. It's fixing it really, really quickly. I'm surprised myself as well, to be honest with you, because I'm an engineer by trade. But I like the fact that this is science, the way it's doing it.
Are there any scientific studies or research that the founder has done, or because I know the parent company Zapper is quite famous in a lot of
Yeah.
other stuff. So I wonder if this specific product has been studied extensively.
I wouldn't say extensively, but it was studied in Scottish University. The challenge with this device is that it does so many good things for you that focusing on one particular thing is it's not even worth it in a sense. So as we know, we're sitting here for a reason together because biohacking and frequency healing and so forth they've been around for a very long time, by the way, as we know, like hundreds of years now, basically, and working really, really well, much better than, let's call it, the other side of the spectrum. So this device is also one of those that is working really, really well. Only positive feedback came from people that used it some sort of shape and form. Some people use it for sleep. Some people had a different reaction to it, and so on. So it's not like we've done extensive studies because there was no need for it. People
Yeah,
bought
if it
them,
works, it works.
simple as that. Yeah. So basically, people bought them. So look, I tried it, and you know what? Whatever I want from this, it works.
Is this available for sale in the UAE market?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay,
It's on our website. You can order it online and then deliver it to your door.
amazing. What's the lifespan of something like this?
So we have 2-year warranty on it, but to be honest with you, we've been producing this for what 4+ years now, and if anything major happens, we're happy to support and help. You buy it for a long time. You don't buy it for just 2 weeks and so on.
How does someone know if something is wrong? I mean, there is a simple operation. I can see a very old school kind of a screen, which is not like super smart like the iPhone, which is good because in an information overload space, you want to have as less as options. And I can see a few, we can show this later. But if I buy this device and let's say it's been a year and a half or 2 years, how do I know that this device is working or it's not working?
Reasonably very simple because when you hold the device with your 2 hands, you do that now. You feel it. It's a little bit vibrating. No, you can hold the box itself. So it's spinning. You don't hear it because the engine is a digital engine, so it does not create that sound, engine sound. If let's say, God forbid, it stops working, it means that you don't feel that small movement. Also, could be issues with the screen. As such, if let's say you drop it, we had that customer,
Yeah.
the cleaner dropped the entire thing. I'm like, that's not ideal for a cube, for example.
You
Coming
don't
back
want
to,
it to spin in the wrong way.
yeah, exactly. So just reflecting on the design, it's designed on purpose to be sleek and simple because what you need is pretty much to spin it up for a certain RPM and run it. It's as simple as that. There's timers built in, the timer settings that are quite self-explanatory. We created a couple of these training videos that are quite easy to interpret, and that's it. So there's no need to create a very massive, super complicated structure around it.
Yeah, people like less complications. Life is pretty complicated anyway.
As it is, yes, correct.
Does it come in only one color?
So far, yes, unless there's a
Yeah.
need for coming up with different
I can
interesting
imagine it in
designs.
like a nice gold with like a brown sacred geometry. That would be my perfect
So
cube.
funny you say that for one of the sheikhs, I think quite not the cube, but some different device. We created one. I think one of the zappers or something. They created with gold plated just for.
Of course, this is the Middle
It
East. You
has
have
to
to
be.
do
It
the
has to
gold.
be the yeah, exactly. So look, if there's a need for it, we can talk about it. But that's the design. So it could be like maybe we can open up another segment of the business like accessories.
Yeah,
You know what, like iPhone cases,
exactly.
and all
You
of a
have
sudden you
some
can have
gold and
different.
some diamonds. You can
Yes.
put someone's picture or a message. Look,
Yeah.
we're already talking about business ideas. This
Exactly.
is what
Let's
I
see.
love. Where do you see this going in the future? What's your plan for the Middle Eastern market? Where do you see it ideally being for home use, for office use?
So the vision from the company, we want to sell at least 1 million globally to start with.
Okay.
It 1 million compared to 8 billion people, of course, it's not huge. But if you think about it, how many people are suffering from various different things, unhappiness, libido issues, depression, headache. By the way, migraines are fantastic for this. So I can tell you lots of stories again. And we're just very, very positive that this is going to go crazy very shortly. When people start talk about this, that, okay, by the way, why is your skin so good? Like we had that between
Yeah.
women. And it's not because of the makeup that they keep putting on and then covering the skin so you cannot breathe, for example, right? And no
Yeah.
offense to the makeup business, but that's what it is. And then and all of a sudden, by the way, it's good. Why do you use it? Premier Cube, great. So we see that more and more. So we see more and more people sharing this information between each other, and I'm super positive about it because I love to see people being happier than what they were before.
Yeah, it's always a joy to see people more joyful and happier. Could we, for example, we're in not that big of a room here in the studio. Could we build something behind the walls of rooms in the future and then have people in the room so everyone can get healing at the same time? Like a big, I'm thinking of this, but like a big cube.
This would go back to a little bit different discussion. I get your point. I get your point. Um, the primer theory is such, primer fusion. If you research it online on our website, primerfusion.org, um, it it shows you how design like this, but in much larger scale, can actually produce so much energy that in a month you can just, it would cost you maybe $10 to run an entire household.
Wow.
But that's a different discussion, and that was sort of first, but then for obvious reasons not very popular yet.
Yes.
um, and it kind of got dragged down to this level, dragged down in a sense that to help humans, to help us to heal better and have a better life. But in theory, what you're saying, it's possible, of course.
Yeah, I can imagine like a society where every house can maybe much after we are gone have this and people can just get energized. Maybe we can build it in a bed so we can,
So
do the same RPM, but every time
yeah,
someone wakes up, they're feeling
you,
so
you're
energized.
you're not far from that actually. I've seen people using the cube, putting it under the bed, facing upwards. Of course, you have to make sure that there's no metal elements in the bed, like strings and
Which
so
is
on,
difficult.
which is sometimes, but not always. I mean, depends on the setup. Water bed, for example. But yeah, there were scenarios for that, so you can easily put it up in a under the bed like that designed, and easily get energized. But a very valid point. If you watch, obviously we all seen Star Trek, at least one or two parts, right? You don't ever see the person who is injured laying down on the table being cut up by many different people or surgeons. There's always someone with an iPad looking thing trying to look at and fix things. That's the future. It's frequency, it's magnetic healing. This is the future.
Let's talk about frequency, but the other stuff that you do.
Okay.
What is, give us, I'm sure a lot of people know, but give us the most basic understanding of frequency healing or frequency therapy.
Okay. So let's go back to the very simplest example. I'm
Back
not
to the
sure.
Future?
No, not that one. Another one. That's a good one, but not that one now. No, we go back to an opera singer.
Okay.
Opera singer, I'm sure any of us has seen some movies, whatever, with a very high-pitched voice breaking a glass, right? Everything is frequency. You, me, the cube, this piece of paper, and so on, it's all frequency. If you can find the same frequency, what this, let's say this paper cup is made out of, then you can break it if you apply the frequency in the right way. So pathogens in our bodies are exactly the same. So every single cell in our body is exactly the same. And the good thing is that pathogens are so-called low frequency because they're slow-moving elements and they're slowly damaging us, put it this way, whereas our own cells are very high frequency. So if you apply, if you know what kind of pathogens you have in your body, and majority, literally 99% of problems in our lives are pathogenic based, so external factor comes in our body. If you can find out what frequency that little pathogen is sensitive for, you can apply that frequency shooting back per se on that, let's say, virus, and you can break the membrane of the virus by the frequency. The content of that virus opens up and explodes into your body, dies per se. Your body is going to create antibodies against this. And next time the virus comes around, your body is going to be ready for it.
Interesting. I like how you explained it in a very simple, simple manner. And I want to take the audience back a few months. I remember it was a few months ago. I had some problems and I was not sleeping, and life is all good. I had lots of energy. I wasn't sleeping well, 1 hour per night. And then we met and I was like, man, what is happening to me? And you're like, hold on. You pulled up this device and it was it was these device with maybe two electrodes, and I was holding on to them and it was reading my electrical signature, very individual to myself. And then we put this on I think it was an iPad or a computer,
Yeah.
and we looked at all these different pathogenic activities, the bacteria, the fungi, all these
Yeah.
different organisms. And you created a program.
Mm-hmm.
You called it the Bible, right? Did you call it the
Yeah.
Bible of
So
something?
yeah. So adding to the story a little bit there. So as we said, every single pathogen has got its own frequency, but you could have, let's say, 5 different pathogens sensitive for the same frequency, right? So this has to be tested, and scientists in Eastern Europe did a 20-year research, which happens to be the Bible eventually, that produced a 650-page document.
Okay.
Um, this is basically testing every single pathogen that have appeared in the past, and how we can look at them basically. Now, what happened was there's a subset of this in a document and also in a database. So when I scanned you with a scanner, so I can scan what pathogens you have in your body based on your meridian points in your fingers. In that case, I came up with results, and then I could write based on. First of all, I could tell you what problems you have immediately, rather than getting a blood test or whatever.
Most of the times, the blood test will not even show all those pathogens.
But you know why? Because they're testing for something that they expect to have. So let's say you go to the doctor, say, "Yeah, I've got a headache or whatever." They take a blood test and they okay, and then test for 1, 2, 3, 4 things. You must have seen a doctor ticking off these boxes,
Yep.
right? In this case, I can see everything. So the frequency that never lies. So you can see what pathogens you have in your body, and based on those frequencies, I can identify them to start with, and I can create the program against these to eliminate them.
Let's talk about the device that you use to create. So when I looked at all of these different pathogens in my body, some of them I don't even know how to pronounce them.
Yeah.
So these are out of sight things that no one really understands. Like if you're into the science part of it, you might know a few of them, but there are like hundreds and thousands of them that we don't even know about. Most doctors don't know about this. We get all this information, you pull it up on the Bible, you extract some information, and then you program it into a device. Can you tell us about that device really quick?
So devices, we have 3 different devices. The 3 different devices have their own reasons. One of them is called the Super Zapper, which is more like a home device kind of thing. So it's a smaller device, almost the size of the cube, where you would hold the 2 diodes after programming and eliminate with electricity your pathogens from your body. In Europe, this is considered invasive legally.
Okay.
Of course, if you do it on your own at home, it's fine. It's not going to kill you, nothing wrong with it. The electricity is not high or anything like
Until you
that.
don't bite it.
Well, even then, it's fine. I mean, don't try it at home,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But the other one is, which is really, really fascinating, is the plasma generator. Plasma generator works in a way that if you want to create frequency healing, so let's call it remotely, that you don't touch anything, you need multiple antennas. So, as all the radio stations, they have their own antennas. There's one frequency, one channel basically for each. So to be able to produce different frequencies, plus you're not gonna just shoot with one frequency. You're gonna shoot with between 2 frequency ranges with an interval. So you're shooting like this slowly, and at some point, the membrane is gonna break, right? So to be able to do this, there's a plasma. Plasma is basically light, and that light can generate this frequency within 3-meter radius. So you sit between 1 and 3 meters and basically heal.
Yeah. So it's just an automatic thing that you just sit down, you put the program in. I remember in mine's written CJ1 because I
Yeah.
have 2 programs. So
Yeah,
CJ1 program, you sit next to it, and then you can meditate, you can talk to someone,
Yeah,
and it does all
listen
that
to
magic.
music, sleep, meditate,
Yeah.
etc.
I-
So that's one. Let me tell you one more thing, so because it's interesting. So this is eliminating all the pathogens in your body, right? And of course, just to let you know, it's not like immediate effect. it's got 30% efficiency. So you need a couple of sessions to be able to do so, to eliminate viruses, bacteria, depending on how often you need to go to get the treatment. But what's interesting is the Zapper and the plasma generator, they're eliminating pathogens from outside of the human cells within your body, per se. The Atom 5 we have, it's eliminating pathogens inside of the human cell, which looks the same as the plasma generator, but it's going literally inside of the human cell. I.e., make a wild guess what we could treat really well a couple of years ago.
We don't want to say that word.
Yes.
The C word.
The C word, exactly. It's the C word. So we've used the Atom 5 in hospitals, of course, unofficially, because there's no other way to do this,
Yeah.
and healed hundreds of people.
Wow, that's impressive. You know, we'll have to continue this conversation next time. There's so many things that I can go over with, but I don't want to leave the audience confused. So, Primary Cube, it's amazing. I want to still test it out more and talk to the audience. In the meanwhile, if someone wants to get it, what's the website?
Zapper Technology ME.
Okay, we'll put that in the show notes.
Okay.
And my final question to you is, let's say we put you into a time machine, since you said Back to the Future.
Okay.
But this time you can go to the past.
Okay.
And you can meet your younger self. And you can give your younger self one piece of advice. What would that be?
Health, health, health.
Are you the kind of person who didn't care about health?
Well, when you're young, you don't care, right?
Yeah.
So,
Most people are old and they don't care.
well, that's another discussion, of course. But I think you're reckless when you're young. Many of us are, and it's very important to, if you want to have a longer, healthy life and you want to enjoy this time in Earth. We don't know officially if this is the only one or there's many. Let's guess it, different theories, of course. But if you want to enjoy this human life, then you have to remain healthy, because once you lose that, there's no money you can buy.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you being here. And this is me, CJ, your host, signing out of the Shift with CJ podcast. Everyone, have a great day, have a great week, have a great lifetime ahead of you. And please remember, one of the most important things that you can never buy is your health. So focus on it, pay attention on it, be more conscious about it. I'll see you in the next one.